The Switch 2 could be right around the corner, or the Switch 2 release could be right around the corner. It's a little hard to tell because everybody and their mom seems to have this secret information about when the Switch 2 is coming out. You can look for yourself, it's all over YouTube. Yeah, it's probably just all for clicks, let's be honest. But don't worry, I'm not here to tell you that I have secret information about the new console, because I don't. I must have gotten left out of that YouTube group chat, but what I do have to tell you is some hopes that we can get from the Switch 2. Some features and stuff that I think would really improve upon the original Switch console. And hopefully you guys can agree as well. How's it going, everybody? I'm CloudRaids and welcome to the channel, where I talk about video games and everything surrounding them. You guys seem to love my DS era video. That video has almost 4,000 views, which is crazy by the way, I love you guys. But it had me thinking about the Switch 2, because I see videos all across YouTube and I don't know what to believe. So I thought I'd make my own video where you don't have to believe anything, because we're just talking about what we want. From the Switch 2, of course. So let's just get into this video. The original Switch was obviously a huge success, selling over 143 million units worldwide. But just because it sold so well doesn't mean it goes without its flaws, because just like any other console released before it, it's gonna have some issues. And one of the biggest things that I hope the Switch 2 can work upon is the comfortability. Because while I think the Switch is great and all, sometimes I find it a little awkward in my hands. I don't know if it's the size of the screen or if it's just the Joy-Cons themselves. All in all, it can feel a little awkward at times, especially once you've been holding it for a while. Now I do think that the Switch is comfortable when you're playing it on your TV with a controller. There I really don't have any issues. I'm not the biggest fan of the controller that it came with, but even then that is not terrible. I mainly have this problem in the handheld mode. Obviously this is just my opinion, because I know there's a lot of people who think that it feels fine, but I also know that there's some people like me who thinks that it feels a little weird. Now it could be 10 times worse like the Wii U, but come on, it's Nintendo. They've made some of the best handheld consoles that we've ever seen before, so I do think that it could be a lot better, especially with this new Switch 2 coming out. Another thing that I hope the Switch 2 really improves upon is the hardware that's in these systems, because I know right now we get a good 30 FPS on any of the games that we're playing, but it would be really nice to play like Zelda Breath of the Wild with 60 FPS, because those games do look really beautiful, but it would be 10 times better to have those games with a higher FPS rate. And I know for some people this doesn't really matter, but every now and then I can kind of tell when the frames drop, and if we could get it up to at least 60, there wouldn't be a big difference from like 60 to 50 compared to when you drop from 30 to 20 FPS. Where I think this would make the biggest difference is not the Nintendo games themselves actually, but the third-party games that are on the Switch or have an opportunity to get put on the Switch 2. Games like The Witcher 3, or games that have a lot of movement and shooting like Apex or Fortnite, would not only look a lot better, but could run a lot better as well. Those games aren't terrible on the Switch to begin with, but they could be a lot better. I remember back when I first bought the original Switch, I bought Dark Souls to go along with it, and I love me a good Dark Souls game, but I just wasn't feeling it as much, because I felt like it just wasn't as smooth, it didn't look as good, and I just really couldn't get into it. And even then, like I said before, this could bring a whole new set of games to the console, because games that couldn't run on the Switch would now have the opportunity to do that if we get the better hardware on the Switch 2. Games that we probably never even thought would make it over to this console. And I don't think anybody's going to complain about more games, because we love playing these games. Maybe, just maybe, we will get a Bloodborne for the Switch. We don't even have that for the PC yet, but like I said before, the possibilities are endless, guys. And I'm pretty sure the Switch 2 obviously is going to have some pretty great hardware in it, but I really hope it lives up to the expectations, because the Switches that we have right now are pretty good, and the ideas for them are pretty good, but the Switch 2 can make that 10 times better. Like the DS series of consoles were great, but then the 3DS series came out and just perfected what they've already had before. So if there's one thing that we know from Nintendo, they learn from their mistakes, at least when it comes to making consoles. The way they treat the player base, well, we don't know if they'll ever learn from that, but they have a pretty good track record on listening to the player base and making better and better consoles. The final thing that I'm really hoping for when it comes to this new Switch generation is I hope that they give it more life. And what I mean by this is every Nintendo console before this, whether that be the Wii or the DS series, is they've always had their iconic music. They had their iconic sounds, and you could even have custom themes on some of them. But then you come to the Switch consoles and it's just like, you don't have any options for themes other than light and dark. There's no music for the shop. There's no custom sounds for whenever you're going through your home menu. Sometimes it can feel a little dead. All around, it used to feel like its own little unique experience. Whether you're just going through the home screen, loading up a shop, loading up a game, buying another theme, everything just felt so great. And you don't have that with the Switch. But speaking about life, I hope that they make more unique Switches as well. They did this with the Switch Lite and they gave it multiple colors, and I hope we really get that with this new generation as well. The DS series had this. There's like a Zelda DS, there's the One Piece DS, there's just a whole bunch of them. And that's something that I really love about that generation and specifically, is the fact that there's something for everybody. If you want a blue one, they got it. If you want a red one, they got it. You want a pink one, they got that too, best believe it. And I know they have some of that with the Switch. They have like a Mario one that's red, and they have a Splatoon one as well, which looks pretty cool. But other than that, there's not really much to choose from. But I really do think Nintendo has learned from this, because like I said before, the Switch Lites have like a whole bunch of colors to them. So I'm really hoping that the new generations of Switches have a lot more colors to them as well, and a whole bunch of more collabs with them as well. Because even with the Wiis, they have their own collaborations. And right now, the only options that we really have to choose from color-wise is with the Joy-Cons. And even the selections for those aren't that wide either. But some is better than none, I suppose. But I do have a lot of faith. Now, these were just my top 3 things that I wanted from the new Switch 2, but I know you guys might have a different opinion than that. I've heard that some people felt the build quality of these consoles were a little cheap and that they want them to feel better with the Switch 2 generation, and I somewhat agree with that. The Joy-Cons on the original Switch, after about 3 months or so on mine, they started to feel a little wiggly and a little loose, and I know that was a big problem with the Joy-Cons. And even with the Switch OLED, whenever you're putting on the little sidebar to turn each Joy-Con into a controller, can be a pain in the butt to try to get that off. It feels like you're breaking the Joy-Con trying to get that out there, and it just doesn't feel very satisfying. It can honestly feel a little annoying. So I understand where those people are coming from, but I don't think the build quality is that bad. The kickstand can feel a little flimsy, but at least we have a kickstand, right? Either way, Nintendo has made some great consoles in the past, and they're probably going to make some great consoles in the future as well. So it's safe to say that they know what they're doing. All we can really do is just sit tight and wait for them to announce it and see what they have in plan for us. I'm just an excited guy waiting for another console from Nintendo. Maybe my expectations are too high, or maybe I just believe in Nintendo that much. Just depends on how you look at it. But with all that being said, I'm CloudRaids and this is my channel, which means I guess this was my video. If you enjoyed it, maybe leave a like. If you loved it, possibly subscribe. If not, I get it, it's okay. Let me know down in the comments below. Are you guys as excited for the Switch 2 as I am? And what are your expectations for this new Switch generation? Because I know I definitely missed out on some stuff, because we all have our expectations and there's a lot to look forward to. And keep in mind, this was all purely just my opinion. You might not agree with me, or you might agree with me, who knows? Either way, don't have a vendetta against me, because I still love you, because you've watched this entire video, and how could I not love you? But either way, I do love you guys. Y'all have a great day, and like always, I don't know what time it is there, so probably have a great night too. Mwah.